Guys, welcome back to another episode of Always Making. We've got the giggles already off the start.
Oh my goodness.
But
Sleep deprivation.
New year, we want to start off this year with a little bit of a recap episode of the previous year. If you guys are just joining us on this episode, first time listeners or watchers or any of this, I'm Derek.
I'm Christy.
We have been doing this show now. We're going, we forget, 37, 38. I think this is episode 37. But
Yeah, I don't remember.
anyways, yeah. We are a podcast that's dedicated to the cool artists, makers, creators, like everybody that we meet at art shows and other talented creative people that like just get suggested to us by cool, awesome other creative makers and stuff.
Local to the Salt Lake City area.
Local to the Salt
Or
Lake and
Northern
greater,
Utah.
yeah, Northern Utah. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, if there's Southern Utah people and other people that
they
come
want
in,
to come up here.
if they're making their drive through or something. But we want to just kind of reintroduce ourselves a little bit there before we get into the conversation of the podcast. This episode, it's just me and Christy on here. You guys seem to like these episodes though, all our previous listeners. So I hope this one is as good as the other ones you guys listen
You
to.
just jinxed us. It's gonna be terrible. No one's gonna listen to it. They're gonna be like, we're done. Done with Always Making.
But this we already had our first episode for the year. We had awesome Mudworks and Gen Galaxy Art.
Yeah.
And sisters, very talented. If you guys haven't listened to that episode, go back, check it out.
Talented and hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that. I think we laughed more in that episode than possibly any other episode.
My stomach was hurting from laughing so hard in that
Yeah, my
episode.
cheeks hurt
Yeah.
after we were done recording that one.
But great, talented artists. We met at a local show. I had the conversation with them at the show and got them in our basement and had the great conversation here. But if you guys haven't listened to that episode, go check that one out. That's our previous episode to this one. Do what you're supposed to do. Also, like, comment, subscribe. If you have other local artists in the Salt Lake area, please let them know we're around and we like to have the conversation with them as well. We like to start off. This year already is starting off like crazy because we have like, it's not that we're like always trying to get people on the show. It's just kind of making that sense. But we have people lined up for the next
this is the first time we have
months.
Like I have a Google Keep note of like I don't even know how many people, at least 8 of like people that like we already have some scheduled, some we're like working on scheduling, some we're gonna reach out to next that we're like already have in the works, like, hey, we're gonna get to you like next in the lineup. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It still baffles me that like we get people who reach out to us who want to be on our show. I'm like, I don't know who's listening. Like who's watching this? I don't know.
But it is great. We do have like if everything goes as planned and everything, we have artisanal baker coming on. We have
sourdough.
Nice local talent. Like we have a couple illustrators I think coming on. Illustrators. We have it's kind of like a game like art creative prompt tools.
Yeah.
So that we've got that person coming on. We have
we have another person who's hosted some markets, so that'll be
and is an artist as well, kind of thing.
Artists
So
in their own right. Yeah, that'll be an interesting conversation.
We've got a couple like community art like show host coming on to kind of talk about why they're building the community that they're building. And then we have a dessert culinary
a vintage reseller.
So we have a few things lined up that's going to be pretty exciting.
It's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be awesome.
So and then all of our awesome guests in the past as well, like we have all them that we keep meeting at shows and having more conversations, and we have a few ideas that we're working on for some future projects, not necessarily just episodes of stuff, but like projects that we've hopefully we'll get to this year. We'll see how this year goes. It's already been very busy and hectic, but I do want to kind of like go back a little bit, talk about last year. How, I mean, for people listening,
talking
2024 how do you think it went for us?
I think it was a good year. I mean, we said this a couple times on the show and other episodes, but I think this year we really spent a lot of time like honing in our brand identity and like how we want to present ourselves. We came up with a new slogan this year, which is art is a rebellion. It's kind of like our slogan / tagline.
Yeah, we're art is a rebellion, and then like rebel with us. We have these two little like tags that we do.
Yeah. And so I think we spent a lot of time like kind of trying to dial in what is Steadfast Rebels and what do our like how do we represent our products and ourselves to our market. So I think in that sense, it went really well. We also, I mean, we're certainly busy. We had a lot of shows this year, I think more than any other year previously so far.
Yeah. We raised a child to 1 year old.
On a personal note, we have a baby who is now 14 months.
Well, it is crazy on some of the episodes we've had where like we continue doing this as we were like 3 weeks into the pregnancy, 4 weeks into the pregnancy, or not? After birth, and
after she was born.
After she was born.
We started the show when I was pregnant.
Yes,
yeah. But we did continue, after she was born. And there's some episodes where I'm wearing her, and she's just like snuggled and sleeping, and she was tiny
having
baby.
The conversation, and so it is crazy to think that whole thing has changed for us.
Also, on a personal note, we celebrated our 20th anniversary as a couple, our 5th anniversary married. But
that's crazy.
5 years married, 20 years together, which is
we still don't believe it.
Wild. It's not. I keep trying to redo the math. I'm like, that can't be right. There's no way.
But in that whole like 20 years, that art journey that we've done together and creative journey, like we've had our degrees, we've had our ups and downs of like the creative world that we're in, but these
many different jobs.
These past 4 years of doing our own art thing has been crazy what it's done. And like that's why we feel like we can share these things with you guys. In this, we have all this equipment and like abilities and skills from our previous stuff
all
that
our
we
previous
can
jobs and experience.
We can do this and we can tell the story and like have other cool artists and talented people on the show tell their story of like why they get into this, why they do what they do. But this year's been crazy in that sense.
It's also kind of crazy to me that like I'm so grateful that this business has allowed me to be a full-time mom at home with Juniper, raising her, spending time with her, and working. Like I'm a work from home mom, but
well, I mean, even like us taking her to shows and being part of that world and showing that like don't think she's going to remember a thing about the first year that we've dragged her along and everything. But hopefully there's that entrepreneur, like go get 'em attitude that we're able to instill into her and like all the other people we have around her also, which is great because everybody we've met and like they have the same drive and passion that we do to just be creative. And like, I love when we hear people on the show talk about doing it because it makes them happy.
Absolutely.
And like the bonus part to like that whole thing is there's actually people out there who want to support that happy and like buy their stuff and support. Like we talk about it. I was
just say the whole community is so welcoming and supportive, both as like a vendor on the like vendor side of things and
the patrons.
Like
who come to the shows and actually buy the like stuff we're like selling.
And everyone is so like loving and towards Juniper and us, and it's just like it's been so great.
It's been great. So that, and then we've learned some new skills like this year. We've done some things. We've gotten access to embroidery machines. So like I know you're wearing one of the fun ones I screwed around with, and then I'm
I love
also
this one and
hat and sweater and everything. Like it's been kind of fun playing around with that whole side of things and like taking designs that I've done a couple years ago and like I've done them as prints, I've done them as screen printing and stuff, but now this year like almost bringing new life into those pieces. And like now we've got this weird like collections of things that we've been making that are like we have a t-shirt, we have a hat, we have a beanie, we have prints, we have stickers, we have all this stuff, which has been great. And again, building our brand, building who we are and the message we are trying to portray has been great this year because I think we finally like found it. Like for you guys, I don't know if we've explained Steadfast Rebels like on the show.
No, I think we have.
Did we? So
I think we have, but we definitely haven't talked about art as a rebellion.
So quick breakdown on Steadfast Rebels. We like the reason it's Steadfast is like we are very like true to our beliefs of like what we want to be, what we want to do, and we like stick to those guns for us
and I think a big part of it is something that's really important to both of us is being genuine and authentic. And so that kind of, I feel like for both of us kind of plays into the like steadfastness. Like you got to be true to yourself, you got to be true to who you are.
And then the rebellion or the rebel side of thing, and I mean rebels, there's two of us, but the rebel side of thing is because we want to push the boundaries of like what we can do. We don't want to take the norm of what people are telling us that we need to do. They're like, example is we took 15 years to get married. Like I always play this example out for people because it's not like we didn't love each other. We didn't like figure it out. Like we dealt with a lot in that whole time. We felt like we were married.
Well, I would say we were absolutely in a committed relationship.
Yeah. But we were rebelling against what society wanted to put on us. We didn't feel like we needed to have any kind of regulation that said, hey, this is why we're doing this kind of thing. Yeah. And it, like when it felt right for what we were doing, we said, hey, let's do this.
Well, and we're both very like contrary sometimes, I think, in our personalities, and we're both very much of the like, I'm gonna do my own thing in my own way, in my own time. Like we're both just that kind of like personality. And so it felt the same, like, look, we're gonna get married. We are going to get married, but we're going to do it in our own time, in our own way, when we're ready, when we want to, like when it's right for us. It doesn't matter if it's 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, whatever. But
and that's one of like the staples that like sticks with us is that we are rebelling against the norm to us and what society puts on us. And that's where the rebels side of things.
Plus, it's a little bit of a nod to like Star Wars and our like nerd fandoms as well.
And so,
just a little bit.
There's that side of things. That's a small like tidbit of Steadfast Rebels and why we are who we are, kind of thing. And the SR means a lot to us, kind of stuff. But the Art is Rebellion. I don't know what I was thinking when we first came up with it. I know the rebellion, the rebels, and like the rebellion in Star Wars kind of thing. It's got a great ring to it, kind of thing. But
you were kind of playing around with like different phrasing, and I think I don't remember if you like texted me or what, but we were just like, yeah, no, Art is a Rebellion.
Yeah,
like, that's it. Like, that's all it needs to be.
I don't know if it was like a political video I saw that made me kind of like, people need to rebel, the rebellion, or if it was like some guerrilla warfare like history video I was watching. But like
who knows the rabbit holes to go down.
But I did feel it was something of like, this is a statement that makes sense to us. Being an artist and putting ourselves out in an environment that is vulnerable, like a shop, a market, or stuff like that. By doing those things and not accepting the norm of your 9-to-5 or your like office corporate America job and everything, you are rebelling. You are using art to rebel and make a statement about what you are doing against the norm. And it is one of those things that like, as we continue to like say it, as we continue to live it, and I'm like, we are making a choice every day to be us, to do us, to meet people who are just as passionate. And I it's a rebellion, and that's the way I kind of feel.
Exactly. I feel like, especially in the times that we're living in right now, in today's political climate, in today's, like post-capitalist,
environmental climate, and like
yeah, exactly, all of the above. It does feel like just being able to be true to yourself and create because you have to, right? Like that's what feels like a rebellion. It's not, yes, we're doing it so that we can make money so we can survive and pay our bills, but it's more like we'd be doing it anyways. Like you like to say all the time, we'd be making no matter what. And that's what I think feels like such a rebellion. It's like, no, this is something that feels necessary. I know hard. It's kind of hard to explain, right? It's like,
well, I think it goes back to when you said it, like we've done a lot of jobs. We've been, we've worked for a lot of people. Some have been great. Some have been things that you go, man, like I learned from that, but I never want to be a part of that situation again, kind of thing. And like, it is always tough because, hey, food on the table, roof over our heads, like the things, a third person, a third mouth that has to be fed. Yeah. So those are things that like we have to take in consideration. But by us every day doing what we're doing, making what we're making, creating what is true to us, that is the rebellion that I think a lot of artists don't realize they're doing, because it is just a natural, like, hey, I'm doing this because it makes me happy. I'm doing this because I need to provide for myself or my family or anything. But like, we have had, I wish I wrote that or took a mental note of the amount of guests we've had at, because I'm going to miss how many we've had on here. But when we talk about the conversation we're having with the guests, and the majority of them that are full-time employed artists, the struggle, self-employed, the struggles that they've gone through, that they're going through, that they are going to face, is a thing that, like, if you're not ready for that step, it makes it very hard to take that first step into that, like, rebellion side of things. But by doing that, you are pushing back against, hey, I don't need to go get this office job. I can do it stuff in my basement. I could do stuff I love, like, when I hear from the artists and it's like they have a desk in a room that is just filled with their stuff to do, kind of thing. And that's all they have. Yeah. Like, we are very fortunate.
Or they're like coffee table in their living room.
Their coffee table living room. Like, we go back to our one of our first guests, the Trash Pile, Taylor. Like, she's doing it in her apartment, dyeing shirts, dyeing, like, putting all this stuff, going through, like.
Well, she finally, speaking big years, got a space this year with, like, an apartment with studio space,
with more space, kind of thing, to do her stuff. But
still,
it is like, we all start somewhere. I know from where it was for us 10 years ago, not let alone 5 years ago, like, we were in our own or separate rooms at our living with our parents, kind of thing. And like, I built my room to be a creative space for me. Your room, like, we still have some of the furniture that like build like for your sewing machine, and the projects we did in the garage, or like, I remember doing the 24-hour film festival in the garage, setting up a green screen, lighting, all the stuff, and going through the motions with stuff. And I'm like, this is what feels right. These kind of days where it is 24 hours of, like, just like nonstop go, and we didn't get a paycheck. That was we didn't get anything, but that's what felt right for us to do. And all the friends we had, all the people who came and helped and supported in those kind of things. But with, like, making the costumes you've done for the cosplays and for the shows, they take long times. They don't, like, there's no return. There's no like, besides your own satisfaction with it. But those steps have led us to where we are now. And I feel by having these conversations with people, by having guests and artists and people in here sharing that information, we are starting this rebellion with the art that is surrounded by us, kind of thing. And so that I don't know how it came to us. I just know what it means to us. And so we continue down this path. So, like, we gave away 100 t-shirts with that, like, on there. Art is rebellion, just, and camouflage as well. I was going hard into the like camouflage, like, let's make this rebellion work. And because it cost us money, it cost us time, but I feel the more and more we push that, like, agenda, or not agenda, sorry, wrong word for it. The more and more we push that idea to other artists and, like, make it a thing where, hey, like, continue, keep pushing, rebel. It's going to be hard, but eventually that rebellion is worth something to us, kind of thing. And so that is like, we've got the hat we've given away, we've given beanies away, we've given t-shirts.
Well, and it's been really exciting to see at shows when we have the Art is Rebellion stuff to give away. People, like, get really excited, and I think it really resonates with people. So I do think there's, like, something there that people really feel and understand.
Yeah. And so I have plans for some more stuff, and I've got plans for some things, like, at future shows that will be giveaways or real dirt cheap, and, like, things that I have access to that I could hopefully, like, continue to just drive people's motivation to continue to rebel with art, kind of thing. So I think I know we wanted to cover that a little bit and kind of get that message out, because we've been wearing it so much and we haven't really said much about it. We've been giving away stuff on our social and things like that. So, but I think that's one of the things. Also, I want to go back, because we kind of jumped a little bit. There's more things we've done this past year that were new to us, and so I do want to go and kind of, like, we started making our own paper, that, so, like, and then we've started,
was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year. We started making our own paper, and we have some plans to make some different things with the paper as we're like been experimenting. Like, the one thing that, like, we've done is it gets really cold during the winter here, if you guys aren't, like, familiar with the area. But, like,
so if you notice in our videos, as it gets to winter, we start, like, wearing more and more layers, exactly, because we filmed this in our basement.
We were doing paper pulp in, like, spring, summer, of this last year, and like it was great. And then like I think I started mixing like a little bit in fall where like temperature dropped a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this outside anymore. I
It's
have to figure out
cold.
something. Either we're waiting till spring to start doing some more paperwork, or we're trying to figure something out inside. But it's messy, so I'm kind of thinking like we're probably gonna wait till spring. But I've got some big ideas with that.
Yeah.
Embroidery was the other thing we jumped into this year. What was the you're working on some new, you did some commission pieces.
Yeah, I had some more commissions this year that was super fun. One of the bigger ones I did was a Buck Rogers cosplay. It was the full outfit.
I keep saying Roy Rogers every
Yeah,
time.
I know you say Roy Rogers, and I think of Roy Rogers Drive in freaking, what is it, Victorville or Barstow? I
Oh
don't
yeah,
remember.
yeah.
I always think of Roy Rogers was like a cowboy, wasn't he?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember. No, Buck Rogers cosplay.
Sci-fi from the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. That was a really fun one. And that one was neat because the person I've done a couple costumes for him or cosplays for him, he gets really into the costumes, likes to deep dive, and he found a woman who has worked on many costumes, shows, pieces, whatever, from that era, from the 60s, 70s, and had done the had done the Buck Rogers costume. And he had her contact information. And so I got to have a phone call with her. And that was just like so much fun to like speak to another seamstress who was really into it and was, like answered all my questions and was just so sweet, and it was so fun. So that was a great memory of the year for me.
And then what, like, I know the shop, I'm trying to just go through like what we've done this past year.
Yeah.
We've done more markets. And
Yes, yeah.
we added more markets to our schedule this past year. How do you think that went for us? Is there things, so I know it was a little difficult because some of the markets you weren't attending because of taking care of Juniper kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it was tricky. It was a little hard for me. Some markets I was like really bummed. I felt like I was kind of missing out on because I could only come for, an hour or two with Juniper, and then, I had to take off with her for her nap schedule or feeding schedule or whatever it may be. So that was a little tricky, but I think overall it went really well. I think Juniper had a blast at all the markets that she came to or went to with us. I think we had we did our first central checkout market, which went pretty well for us. I think that was
exciting.
It was success.
It was a little bit of like nerve, like I guess I don't want to say nerve wracking, but it was like to lead up to it, like trying to make sure we had everything we think we needed to have.
Yeah, it was hard because we're so used to being in our booth and being able to like explain things or sell things, or if people don't necessarily see our signage right away, we can point it out and be like, oh, shirts are 20, whatever, stickers are 2 for $5. But we had to make sure we had like everything very clearly like labeled. We had to have like we didn't know all of the inventory that we had going in the booth, which we don't usually.
Yeah, we usually just print stuff and take it to a show and go, here you go, we have stuff. But I think one of the things for us, because we did really do a breakdown of our inventory, really like set up everything we were taking, line, and like tried to fit it in the space that we had. But I think what was the best takeaway from it for us is that we don't have to be there to sell our message and sell our stuff. The right people were in there buying our pieces. And then I loved, we met a vintage seller who we'll have on the show, Holly. Hopefully this next couple episodes we'll have her come down and have a little bit of conversation. But she had a booth next to us at the show, and she was like, every time I'd come in and adjust my booth, I always heard people talking about your booth next to us. I'm like, it was very like heartwarming to hear that people were having that conversation or seeing something, because we see it at shows, but like to not be there and not experience it, it's like, how's it doing? What's going on?
Yeah.
How's it? And like that first week, you're like, did stuff sell? Did get things like, and you're like, as you started steadily started to see those things like selling, and like, oh, we need to restock this. Oh, we need to take this and everything. It became a like, oh, what we're doing makes sense.
Yeah.
And like we need to continue down this path of what we're creating, because what we're creating, like, and again, it's us. Like, these are things we want. These are things like we wear. I think I rarely wear a t-shirt that is not my own design.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because you were wearing a shirt this morning that wasn't a Steadfast Rebel shirt, and I was like, "What shirt is he wearing? Like, what is that?"
Yeah, it was. It's one of.
So I haven't seen that shirt in a while.
Yeah, it's a long sleeve because it's cold.
Yeah.
But it is one of my more favorite. It's a middle finger skeleton hand kind of thing that I kind of like. So, but yeah, it is one of those. When I do pull out some of like the other T-shirts that I have, I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't worn this in a while.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I haven't seen that shirt in a while.
Yeah. But I think that was really great about the central checkout, and I'm excited to see what we can get ourselves into this next following year with some of the things we've got. Hopefully we'll be able to get accepted back into Craft Lake City again.
Mm-hmm.
We have their big show in the summer that we look forward to every year.
Yep.
And then there's a lot of other shows that we haven't tried yet that I think we're looking at, like, hey, can we get into this? I think another takeaway that happened this past year that I want to talk about is we went from like strictly having 10 by 10 booths at all of our shows. Like we would take our Easy Up, pop it up. We designed around it. Well, we did a couple shows this last winter that opened up some doors for us because we were accepting a 6 foot table, like a 6x5 or a 6x8, however, the depth of what they had.
Which just makes sense because winter shows are going to be indoors more often than not. And so there's limited space. So
we were like a little hesitant about like, can we fit what we need to fit and go? But what was great is we built something that we were excited about and put out, and the response from people was very positive. And like the sales were great.
We basically, for those who haven't been able to see us in person, we basically went vertical with our booth.
Yeah.
Like we don't have the 10 by 10 footprint. So we need to just take
10 feet tall now.
Exactly. Possibly more. We took our 6 feet and then we went up. So we put our grids up like above behind our table. And then we put like shirts on poles up above the grid, above that. So honestly, we are probably 10 feet tall, if not
we are
more.
because it is a 7 foot grid and those poles were just about, or the posts I made were just about 3 feet, and they're just under, but like when they go up on everything, we're just probably hanging around
about
10 feet tall.
Yeah.
Of thing.
So, but it's been really funny. It's been great because people will walk up and then they kind of like start like leaning their head back and looking up and they're like, oh, you went vertical.
Yeah. And it does help. And we took a couple like tips and things that we saw from other vendors at like Comic-Con shows, at art shows and things like that, where they've gone higher than we've gone, kind of thing in that sense. But they've built vertical displays so that they can be seen at distance. And so
well, especially because at that kind of like convention style show, a lot of times you're in artist alley with a table and there's tons of tables surrounding you. So you really want to be visible. The
struggle, and if there are people out there who display t-shirts along with everything else that they have, leave it in the comments on how you guys display stuff, because like that is the struggle we have had every single
we're on our
time.
Third or fourth iteration of displaying shirts.
I think even more than that kind of stuff. Like, well, the first idea was I took the Hot Topic and like the Tilly's and stuff like that, where they put all their shirts in like these like square or rectangular displays. So we wrapped all of the shirts around a canvas so that we could hang it on the grids. And people didn't get it.
No, people were very confused. They thought they were art prints. They weren't sure they were shirts. They weren't sure where to get the shirts.
And I felt like we put labels on things and but so it was very confusing.
By the way, is Tilly's still a thing?
I don't, maybe. Did I just like date ourselves? No, I think it's still a thing. I know there's Zoomies. I know there's Tilly's.
Yeah, there's Zoomies. I just don't know if Tilly's is still.
Oh, no, they are. Yeah.
Sorry, I just got sidetracked because I was like, Tilly's? Is that still around?
I haven't heard that in a while.
No, this is, oh man. So it brought back middle school boyfriend that I had for like a hot minute. Okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fight this guy.
Exactly. No, and I got him a Tilly's gift card for his birthday because that's what was really in like 8th grade. Anyway, sorry. I don't know why that came back to me right now.
I remember going into Tilly's. I don't remember ever buying anything from Tilly's.
I think I bought like earrings from Tilly's once. Like, it wasn't.
I don't know.
It was overpriced.
But.
And it was well, neither one of us were like into the big like skate or surf scene much. So anyways, side note
guys. Yeah. Tangent that we had there of our childhood.
Adolescence.
But so that was and we had success going back to the
vertical display
6 foot table display setup and everything. And I think it worked for us. And it was, I also had to take into consideration because I did all setup and all tear down. And so
there was literally like 2 shows maybe where I was able to help you with like setup and or tear down.
Maybe. Yeah.
2, maybe 3.
Well, hold on, every Brighton show you were there.
That's true.
Yeah, every
Junie and
Brighton
I
show.
were there for the entire Brighton show.
Yeah, so we
or
didn't
the
have to
entire
take
show
2
for
cars
each of
up the
those.
mountain kind of thing for
Exactly.
that one. So
yeah.
so there's those ones that were there
Yep.
to support, and then
Craft Lake City, we were there for some of the setup.
Yeah,
'cause
that was
a
true.
separate setup day.
Yeah.
And tear down.
And then a little bit of the
Yeah.
holiday market in Ogden were
Mhm.
there. So there's a few more
Yeah.
shows kind
Yeah,
of thing
so
that
more
you
than 2 or 3.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it was hard. It was hard for both of us because we had to really kind of separate
But I had to think
our roles.
like, so we had to change our way we loaded the vehicle because we had a car seat in there,
Mhm.
and then
when
we
Juniper was coming.
when she was not, I had to change the way I went about, like, how am I going to set this up with being solo,
Mhm.
and what made sense and what was easy to do. Like, some shows I have a 2-hour setup and I feel I have enough time to get everything.
Mhm.
Some shows it's like, oh, you have an hour before like we open to the public, and it's like, oh, how do I make sure I can get everything? And like, I felt I was getting right up against the wall every like show, like labeling, ticketing, like pricing, going through, making sure everything was up. And then it was like to a point where I got to, or like, I'm like, this is good enough.
Mhm.
This is okay. We can take this. And I think what it allowed us to do was really hone in on what worked for us.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to like, oh, we need this, we need this, we need this. It's like, okay, you know what? This show, we're going to scrap this idea. I left things in the bins.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, we're not going to display that this time. We're just going to do this. And it did well for us because then it was like, hey, we have more of this going on here.
Right.
And people saw that and gravitated to it.
Which is something we've talked about, like kind of curating our booth more depending on the market and the audience, because we do have so much product. I think it can be overwhelming. So yeah, I think we experimented with that quite a bit this year.
Yeah. And so we had a conversation with Falcon Craft on here about going to like doubling like booth size kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we have so much.
Like, do we do 10 by 20?
Yeah. And or
booths?
like at certain shows, if we can, are allowed it, can we, does it make sense for us?
Mhm.
And I still have that, like, is it worth it for us to make
right.
that
Well, we see
jump?
the return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think we're
so-
still on the fence about that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And what I really like, what kind of like twisted a little bit is when we got forced into a 6-foot table.
Mhm.
And I go, oh, wait, hold on. If I can make this 6-foot table work, like maybe we need to like pare down some things a little bit and figure out. But again,
100%.
the biggest struggle is t-shirt displays.
Yes.
So I ask again, if there's people out there who have figured out how to display t-shirts really well that catch people's attention.
Yeah.
And people
Or like if you saw
realize
a
their
video
t-shirts.
on YouTube or something, like link it down below. Like
Yes,
we just
put a comment in there, have
Yeah.
that, like share that information with us. But so that I'm trying to, is there anything else for this past year that like we haven't potentially talked about already on a previous episode, or like kind of recapping how it all went for us with that?
I'm trying to think. I mean, it's been such a busy year and I have such terrible mom brain. I feel like I can't remember much of anything.
I mean, a lot.
We did have
going
our
on.
busiest holiday season. We did 4 back-to-back
Yeah.
holiday markets, starting with Small Business Saturday, after Thanksgiving, and going all the way through every weekend.
Yeah.
Up until we left for our, trip.
Yeah.
So,
Family vacation, a long
Yeah.
family vacation,
yeah.
12 days.
Not long in a bad way. It was just
No,
it was
no,
12 days.
it
Like it
was
was
12
actually
days.
long.
It was 12 days with
You made
a
it sound
one-
like way
Yeah.
too long.
Well, it was 12 days with a 1-year-old. I
Yeah,
mean, it did
it was a
get
lot.
to a point where it was very long, and I think 12 days with the 1-year-old's a little long to be.
She
out
was
of
kind of
the-
done, I think, by
yeah.
the end of it. But also, we weren't sure if she was sick, and then I got sick on like the day we were flying home, which was miserable. And
Yeah,
anyways,
that turned into a whole thing,
Yeah.
and so, but
we did the 4 holiday
survived.
markets before that trip.
They were great.
And that went really well for us, I think, as well.
Yeah, and so again,
It was,
there's a balance that we're trying to figure out, like with not draining every
Mhm.
weekend, we having our free time to make stuff and create stuff and build what we want to build, but like also like, hey, we're going to be at these shows consistently, and what
Yeah.
that return actually makes sense for us to do.
yeah,
And
because I think it was really like a testament to say like, hey, we can do this if it's something we want to do. Like we can push ourselves and be at shows more.
yeah,
Again, if it's what we want, but we want to make sure we of course have our downtime and our time to take
Family
care of
time
exactly
and,
take
like,
care of personal
actual product like
things.
making time kind
shower. I
of
don't
thing.
know.
that was one of the things too. As we added product to the shows and to what we were taking, it became like, hey, when do I get time to actually make this stuff?
Yeah.
And when do I get time to create? And
because we kind of like started running out of some of our stickers, and it was like, oh shoot, we ran out of time to like print and cut more stickers.
Yeah, and so like even though we
Things like
do
that.
it here, so then it gets into the conversation of what makes sense to then start outsourcing to things to like let go of some of that control that we have. And we haven't given up anything.
No, we haven't.
that is because it is a hard conversation. I think a lot of artists have that struggle of like making it themselves and then allowing someone else to make their art so that they can offer it to people, because a sticker, a print, like things like I would never want to outsource my screen printing. That's the like hands are on the material and that kind of stuff. But I don't know if like all of a sudden we had 1,000 orders of a t-shirt, can I do 1,000 t-shirts?
Yeah.
And like
still, can you do it? Yes, but in a reasonable
time. Is it
without breaking your back?
Well, not just breaking back, but sacrificing other things that might take into place. And so there is a time where, as the artist, we have to find that balance of what makes sense and how far we want to take things with that stuff.
Well, and I think a factor for us that we always kind of bring up as well is that one of the reasons we like making things ourselves is that we're able to keep our costs down so that we can offer it to our customers at a lower price point as well.
Yeah. And so that's a struggle that like I know, talking with other artists, and it's like, because I screen print, I know the costs. I'm able to save a lot with that and offer that savings back through to people who want to support us.
Yeah.
But for some people, they're making like 10, 15 prints off of or t-shirts, and it's costing them $20, $25, $30 kind of thing to get them, and so they have to charge $35, $40, and it's like, oh, it's moving slow for them. Or
which
they don't feel,
devalue the shirt at
not
all,
at
that
all.
It's more expensive, but I think we both feel much better being able to offer our shirts at $20, $25 max, and not be like, hey, cool shirt, glad to like it, it's $35, it's $40.
Yeah, sometimes it's a tough pill to swallow kind of thing when it comes to spending on those things. So slight distraction from our dog.
Another new thing this year, we adopted a dog.
We adopted a dog. We added that to it, and I know on a few episodes in the past you might have heard her. I tried my best to eliminate her in the sound edit, but so that's added a whole nother thing to it, and trying to figure out
another dose of chaos. But the cutest chaos.
But I think that's the year in review. What do we have planned for this year coming?
Well, speaking of all of the new products that we've added to our market inventory, one of our big plans is to maybe finally, hopefully, start updating the Etsy shop and get more of our market products, our shirts, our prints, into our Etsy shop. So that when you're at a market, if you don't see your size or you like something but you want to order it for whatever reason online, you can do that and get it in our Etsy shop.
Yeah, that's the game plan, because we've had a lot of people who are like, can we get it online? We're like, kind of, like maybe, like we do have an Etsy shop, or like, hey, message us on Instagram and we'll figure that out from there kind of thing. But it is one of those, like we want to be able to have, like, I think because we are now better defining what we're making, better defining our pieces, like making the things that like we can make over and over and over again, in that sense, that have our pieces that we're working on, like we can start having an inventory for the online side of things, inventory for shows, and vice versa, kind of just be able to keep that rolling with us in that sense. So that is one of the things we have planned. Besides the boring business side of things and all that stuff, is there cool like wants, hopes, projects that like you're working on?
So there is a couple new products, one of which I've been working on for quite a while. But trying not to be perfectionist, but I really want to get it right and I really want to be happy with it. So, I've been really looking for ways to use up the linen scraps from all of the linen scarf, hoodies, hooded scarves, goodies, whatever you want to call them, that we sell on our Etsy shop, because that's one of our biggest sellers. Actually, that is the biggest seller on our Etsy shop at the moment. But I have a lot of scraps and I don't want to get rid of them. They're big enough pieces that they're usable-ish. So I've been working on some accompanying accessories. So I'm working on some arm bracers, that will be made with the same linen and match the hoods. And then I have some ideas percolating. I haven't started, working on patterns yet, but I want to work on a vest piece to kind of also go with the hood and bracers. But there will be much fewer of those, and those will be a little more, I don't want to say custom, but they're going to be cool. They're going to be real cool.
That's on the seamstress side and like sewing side. Is there the other projects or anything like that that's like been kind of stewing that you're hoping to get to maybe this year?
What about you?
I want to get our big prints on our recycled paper done.
Poster size.
I have 16 by 20 screens that will allow us to do paper. I have 3 trash bags of shredded craft paper and packing paper and stuff like that sitting in the other room that needs to be. I actually have a I don't know if it's still good. I have a tub of paper mulch in the backyard. I don't know either. Yeah, I haven't lifted
well,
that
and
lid.
we moved it to the backyard because it was in our basement kitchen and it was getting smelly, which to me means it's probably not good anymore.
So but I still have the bags of other stuff, so I do plan on making some bigger screens and some bigger paper, and then we do have a few prints already. Pause. Well, that chaos happened, and the dog, I think, woke Juniper up from her slumber, and so we're back. She's back down, and we're going to continue this on. But we were talking about
future
projects, paper, prints.
I was going to say, speaking of recycled, so we've been talking about using up linen scraps, using up paper scraps. Also, we've been talking about using up some of the faux leather scraps for making patches, which is another thing that we've got in the works.
Yeah, so we've been testing out a few things and trying to figure out the best way that has the best quality for what we're trying to do. So there's that kind of things that we're working on. And then I've got a couple illustration ideas. We've talked about it on here, Inktober, and how I utilize that time to like kind of push myself and create some things. And this year was a lot harder with Juniper like taking up some time and not allowing to like really like get into it, but I still was able to like get that 31 days in, and I've been already reworking some of those pieces to work some projects. So we will probably see about maybe 3 or 4 new t-shirt designs coming out this year, if not more, but I do have some plans of t-shirts that I want, so those will eventually be in the shop and selling that. I don't know, hats are weird. I like hats, but I don't know.
It's a blanket statement. Hats are weird.
Hats are weird. I'm every episode I'm in a hat, guys. So I mean, or I think there's one episode where I wore a beanie and I like watched it back. I'm like, what the hell am I wearing?
Yeah, well, so noticeable that people who know you, like your dad, was like, well, you were wearing a beanie the other day. Like, was it cold? I was like, what's wrong?
I know. It was weird. But I don't know. Like, our hats did well, but I don't know if like how much I want to continue doing hats. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe. But we'll see. I might get a weird like bug and go, hey, I got this idea. Let's try this out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then photography wise, I've done photography most of my life, but this past like year I've been playing with so many like new cameras that it's really like rejuvenated my whole like love for like the whole like art behind it. So I don't know. Maybe I want to do some artsy fartsy like photo stuff.
You did develop your own film.
Yeah, finally got a chance to like
this past week
develop like our own film, and it's crazy. But like I've sent all my stuff out, and like I know how to develop. I've gone through the like motions of like how getting to that point, and it was finally because one of the pictures is for my 4x5 camera that I bought 2 years ago. And
our maternity photo shoot when
I was just gonna say you were
Juniper.
pregnant with Juniper, and that was one. I think that was one of like the first photos I took on that camera. And so like finally getting a chance to develop it, and that it still developed after like sitting for 2 years. In, like and then like our trip to Orlando just recently, I developed those photos, and so. But I've gotten a bug, and with all these cameras and with all these like things, I don't know. I like maybe I do some more artsy fartsy photography style of things, but I don't know. That's a pie in the sky kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I say I along the same lines for sewing, I have some ideas for like
artsy fartsy.
like a little bit more like art, like so I've done like a lot of cosplay pieces. I've done the upcycled tote bags, but I still like love the idea of using vintage fabrics and materials and upcycling. And I want to do some more like, I don't know, just some like more fun pieces, like more one-off pieces, something like, some things that are kind of a lot more unique and have a little bit more of a design to them and maybe a little less functional and more fun. More fun than functional, but both for sure. But
yeah, and then the podcast isn't going anywhere. We've got guests lined up.
Yep.
We've got ideas for it and stuff. The YouTube channel that you guys, if you are watching this on YouTube, like we plan to do more tutorials. We say it all the time. We are going to try and like
we kind of fell off for those, but we need to get back into them because we really do love doing them.
We do love doing them, but I think we're also going to adapt a little bit differently on how we do them. Where some of the things that I do, Christy doesn't do. So I think
and vice versa.
And so I think what we're going to try to do is give you some tutorials from Christy, some tutorials from me of different things that we do and what you see in our booths or on our shop.
Yeah, and I think also make them just maybe just a little bit more casual, a little less formal, a little like they'll still have the your same basic tutorial structure format, but
we took a lot of our studio experience into kind of laying it out, and we will have some stuff still like that, I think, as we can kind of break stuff down and the both of us work on things. But I think you'll see a little bit of a change with some of the ways we do those. And then I don't know, there's some we're constantly thinking of video production stuff because that's just what our background is and what we love doing on top of everything else that we do. But there's some ideas that again, trying to build this community and grow and show all the talented people that we meet and give them a voice as much as we can, kind of thing. We have some ideas, and so hopefully maybe you'll see something in this next year that comes out, but if not, they're there. And when we get the time to get them right and make and do right by us in that sense, kind of thing, if that's the right way to say that,
makes sense to me.
They'll be there, kind of thing. But we do I do want to say we do appreciate you guys tuning in. We do appreciate you guys watching and listening. And when we do meet you at shows, or when you are an artist that come up to us and go, "Hey, I'd love to be on your show," that's the coolest thing. To know that
hearing you guys have that podcast is wild.
It is still very wild to us and everything. I mean, we'll be coming up on 2 years of doing this now, and it is we love doing it because of the people that we meet and the conversations we have, and it's fun. So that I don't know, is that the end of this episode? Are we wrapping this up?
It sounds like a wrap up.
Was there anything else we wanted to kind of cover and talk about as we go forward, kind of thing, with some of the stuff? If there's things you guys want to see, let us know in the comments. We're working with what we know. So
I know
if there's stuff,
I would say, and just a quick thank you for having patience and understanding. I mean, not that anyone has ever been rude, of course, but yeah, I mean, we're new parents, we're working, we're parenting,
business owners, we're small business owners,
doing life,
we're life, all that stuff that happens, and we're trying to be on a consistent schedule, trying to put something out that we appreciate, that we would listen to, kind of thing. I mean, I do listen to it because I edit it and I do all the stuff, but
I don't listen to it. I just don't want to hear myself. Honestly, that's all it is.
But it's one of those things where it is great that we can do this kind of stuff, and
but it's because you guys are supporting us and cheering us on, and it honestly means a lot.
And there's no monetary return for us on
not making
any
money
of
off
this
this
right
podcast.
Now. I mean, maybe hey someday. I'm not putting it out there.
Unless somebody wants to sponsor.
But this is a labor of love at this point, kind of thing, for us, and we continue to do this. The guests we have in here, we don't charge anybody to be on the show.
No.
There's not anything like that. We meet cool people. We want to share their story.
I'm just surprised every time someone agrees to come to our basement and record a podcast with us.
It's always oh yeah, we do it in our basement. Come check it out. And they're like, oh, okay, weird.
Too bad I already said yes. Dang it.
But I think on that note, we're going to wrap this episode up. We'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode. We're going to have an awesome guest on with that. I don't want to spoil anything on that. Just in case guests change or we have to rotate.
Yeah,
or something.
honestly, yeah, that's really what it is. It's not like it's some big surprise.
Yeah. But yeah, that's.
But yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Literally just said the exact same thing. No, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has listened, who has watched, who has commented and liked and shared and asked to be on the show. Thank you guys so much for a wonderful 2024.
Agreed to be on the show?
Yeah, to be on the show. Again, I can't believe anybody comes to our basement to record this with us. Thank you for stopping by the markets and saying hi. I mean, dollars spent, no dollar spent. We just genuinely are so appreciative.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys on the next episode. Like, comment, subscribe. Because if you don't, you'll miss out on all these fun things.
So great.
But guys, thanks. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thanks. Bye.